And we've got a super special guest today talking about the world of play and how playing can actually foster peace. Joining us to shed light on this great topic is entrepreneurship educator, lecturer, and professional trainer with over a decade of experience. That's Emad Saif, who calls himself Abu Ward as well on his Instagram feed. You should check it out. He's pretty passionate about education, innovation, creativity, and aims to revolutionize learning. Not only that, he designs impactful training for diverse organizations, specializing in innovation, design, thinking, and what they call Lego serious play methodologies. The word serious caught my attention because you don't usually associate the word play with seriousness. Imad's got his smile on his face, and I guess he's got all the elaboration we need to inspire growth. He's also founded what they call Play Meetup. It's basically a social innovation startup that gamifies human connections to foster collaboration, and it's got an active Instagram page that you can check out. It's simply called Play for Meet. We'll be talking more about that. Emad's unique approach involves using everyday children's building blocks. I mean, it's building blocks. Should we only associate it to children, Emad? Before we begin, welcome to the show.
It's my pleasure to be here, Huda. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm very happy that I'm not only seeing Emad in pictures, he's now physically in the studio. So we get to learn a lot from Emad. He does help individuals express complex emotions and build bridges with others through building blocks. And today we'll uncover how all this and how his simple methods can unlock deep personal insights and pave the way for a more peaceful world, one block at a time. To start off, Emad, could you explain how you see the act of play impacting one's inner peace and emotional well-being?
Absolutely, Huda. I think we've been lied to about play all our lives.
All our lives?
We've been told that when you're a kid, play, it's okay. But as you get older, all of a sudden, drop the play, be serious, focus on work. So I think the perception of play is not what it should be. So let me just say this at the beginning. If you think us as creatures, as human beings, as mammals, there's many species, just like chimpanzees, dolphins, wolves, that they all have play. It's part of their wiring.
Cats, dogs,
they all play.
Yeah.
But what happens when we get older? Something changes. So part of the healthy development of many species is play. It's part of our social being.
It's our second nature.
Absolutely.
And we nurture it as we live in our environment. But it depends on the environment as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So imagine if you had, just for the sake of an example here, imagine if chimpanzees or wolves, that they have not played as cubs or as little babies. How can they go together in their tribe or their community to go hunting, for example? So all these skills that start as play, they're preparing them for adulthood to be effective part of their community. It builds trust. It helps them organize and be able to achieve success in a way.
It builds up their skills.
Absolutely. But we as humans somehow, we think that as we get older that we should stop. And I remember this beautiful quote by George Shaw, an Irish philosopher, where he says, we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing.
That is so wise. Yes.
So when I heard that, I was like, I need to bring play to the front of not just only in my lectures, in training, in organizations. It's a cultural shift that we need to have because we are too serious. And interestingly, as you mentioned, it's serious play. It's a play that has intention, and it goes directly into how we're wired as humans and how we can achieve peace and mindfulness and creativity and so much more all through play.
Have you ever encountered individuals who had a hard time indulging into what you're trying to teach because they had a lack of play in their childhood?
Absolutely. I will give you actually a very impactful example that really changed me as Emad.
Please go ahead.
So I was doing this training for youth in Morocco a few years back. And part of the methodology that we do, there's a part where people build individual models. And sometimes as we have longer workshops, you get to do something we call a shared model. So it basically combines the individual models that each person builds. And then someone at the end volunteers to present, you could say, the model. So there's a method I have to follow very kind of strictly in some way to kind of, enforce and we get the outcome that we want. in that particular incident, it was the first time someone disobeyed. He didn't want to follow the rules. So we have one of the rules is that as you build your individual models, you share a story about it.
Okay.
But there was that young man. He was a university student, and he was so shy, introverted, that he refused to speak at all. So I tried to kind of nudge him a little bit. Come on, we have to follow this. So I left him alone. I said, okay, don't push.
Did he feel encouraged by watching others?
That's the magic part. So he was silent the whole time. Then when the time came for someone to say, I'm going to present the team, he spoke. And the whole team froze. Like, what? You were silent the whole time? He said, I would like to present the story. And
his story must have been one of the best.
It wasn't his story. It was a shared story of everyone there. So when he spoke, I've never heard someone speak so poetically.
How clever.
So beautifully. And as he was saying it, Huda, here's the magic part. I saw a tear going down his cheek.
Oh, my
So I realized in that moment that it wasn't just a story. He was able to overcome a fear of speaking or a way to express himself. So suddenly this Lego or the
You
bricks,
allowed him to verbalize his emotions.
exactly. These bricks now became a medium for him to express himself, and then people clapped for him, and it was an amazing moment. And you could see his just relief. He's able to express the ideas.
What a rewarding moment for you, knowing that you've impacted him and managed to add so much to his life through something that we might consider simple.
Yes.
Or only related to children. But that's serious play.
We just don't know what people are bottling up inside, what emotions, what ideas, but play can be an amazing vehicle for them to be able to express these
It's
thoughts
a very
and emotions.
effective tool, and it allows you to learn more about one's personality or character or tactics.
Absolutely.
Or perceptions of things. Yeah, you can get to learn a lot when you're playing with people. As a coach who uses children's building blocks as a primary tool, how do those blocks, seemingly simple building, those blocks can help people articulate and process their emotions? Can we exemplify that through the blocks we have here in front of me? Guys, luckily, I got a little Ziploc bag with precisely 6 blocks, 2 being red and 4 in different sizes being yellow. What can we do with only 6 blocks? That's what I'm thinking.
You can do a lot. So the key thing here is that you said children blocks. We don't see them now as children blocks. They're just a medium. They're a tool. So it's not really about the block. It's about what I can get out of this block. So think of it now as a medium. And with this method that we use Lego with metaphors. So normally when you go to, for example, to a store to buy building blocks that you actually may be building a set of some, a gas station or some famous movie. So someone already designed.
They usually come with a theme.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So someone designed the theme of what it looks like. But here, we're not following a particular outcome. You're building as you go, and you are unlocking what the meaning is. So there's a lot of science and research behind this methodology. So we follow these guidelines to ensure we're able to get it out. So as I said before, let's say you have one block here. So it has eyes. So then normally eyes are physical eyes, right? You see with them. But you think with me, Huda, what could be a metaphor if you see eyes? What could they be a symbol for something deeper than just eyes that you see on the block?
Envy.
There you go. You see, that's exactly it. It's almost instant.
If there were 2 of them, I wouldn't have thought of it. But only finding one on the block brought the word envy to my mind. I don't know why.
There you go. So that's one possible meaning. It's not the only meaning.
No.
But now because you just held it in your hand, something happened. I mean, we call this the brain-hand connection. There's actually 70 to 80% of your brain cells, the neurons, have a direct connection to the hands. That's why kids like to play a lot with their hands, because it accesses more of their brain power. So now you might be getting
and activates their sensors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you get this flow of information that you don't know where it comes from, but we call this a state of flow. When you feeling creative and all these ideas are coming to you without really planning or thinking too much. It just flows. So now you said, for example, that these eyes may mean to you envy. Someone else could say, well, this means curiosity. This maybe, for example, maybe a mother caring for her children. So it can be anything you want.
It doesn't have that sentimental touch to it, to say my mom, because they're pretty much round and quite large. So I can say innocence as well.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be many. So think of it this way. We could be sitting in a team or a group professionally or friends or family, and we're all talking about the same thing, but I see it a different way. When we go through the activity of play, we're now able to understand, hear different stories and see, whoa, Huda, for her, it means this. For me, it means that. And all of a sudden, it's not longer about right or wrong. It's about perspective, about respecting, and we develop empathy. And we learn how to tell stories and listen to others. These things happen naturally through play.
And live with each other's different points of view,
Exactly.
and learning from each other. We're not talking about peace of mind, but we're not only about that, but emotional stability, building connections. And as we were off air, while you guys were enjoying an Ultimate Rock Set classic, Listen to Your Heart, Emad was telling me about how this whole thing started off to build connections. Can you give us a little insight about that? It's pretty interesting. How did that start? What made you want to build connections? What was happening in the beginning?
I'm a human. I'm naturally wired to build connections. I think all of us are.
Yeah.
But sometimes we accept now in a world that is dominated by social media that we feel isolated. We look connected, but we're very much disconnected. And that's how I felt at some point.
You're talking about physical presence, that kind of connection.
Even also emotional. Like I have a lot of connections online, let's say on LinkedIn or other platforms. But if I, for example, got sick, how many would actually call to check on me? So was that kind of that deeper
How many
level.
would pay you a visit?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How many would just check and honestly care about you? So I think we're falling into this trap of illusion of connectedness, where in fact it's lacking more than ever in today's world. So that's why, for me, I realized that my need to connect on a deeper level was shared among many other people who wanted the same thing. But what was the solution? And that's where the idea came from. How can I utilize this method that I'm doing in training to apply in a social setting where and the first time I posted this back in, I think 2018, and I made a post on LinkedIn that I will be meeting in a public cafe with people who want to play with me. And that's it.
Have you given them the options of what games you were going to play that day?
No. I just said I'm going to meet with strangers to play. And I said, okay, nobody's going to show up. In the worst case, I'll have a coffee. And I chose a cafe that I never go to.
Okay.
Just to avoid embarrassment
like
of someone.
Like a whole new experience.
Yes.
Okay. And how many people showed up?
First time, I think around 6 or 8 people.
Great for a start. That's great for a start.
It was incredible.
What did you end up playing?
I thought I was going to be sitting alone on the cafe with Lego and just people staring at this weird guy sitting in a cafe playing Lego. But,
Listen, building blocks is for all ages.
Absolutely.
And that's why looking at the questions for today, it does keep repeating children's building blocks, children building blocks. It's building blocks. Building blocks is for everybody.
Out of the game. We have to play as well. Adults have a deep need to play, and play not in the sense of like we just see kids. Play has a much deeper meaning, and we as adults need it. It's a must.
On a personal level, when I feel like playing, especially when it comes to building blocks, it allows me to disconnect from whatever pressures I might have, and it calms me down. It brings me back to my own inner stability, and it adds fun and creativity. Things that I never thought would be built can actually be created through blocks, especially when they're colorful.
Yes.
A lot might come to mind. Going back to our questions, Mr. Emad, can you share a specific example or a story where you've witnessed playing with building blocks facilitate understanding or bridge a gap between individuals or groups in conflict?
Absolutely. I had a friend reach out to me years ago. He heard I was doing this sort of training with building blocks, and I said, sure, let me see if I can help you out. So his challenge in his company was that he was hiring people from different cultures, different backgrounds. And it didn't seem that they're all aligned with the company vision. Some were from different departments, but it was a struggle for him.
So there was no common ground.
There were no common grounds. And even where he wanted to take the company, if he asked anyone else, different department, it wasn't anything close to what he had. So he was very frustrated. So when we went through this half-day training using this method, slowly we started seeing changes. And the big changing moment happened when we actually broke for lunch. We went upstairs in his cafeteria, and then he stopped. He was like staring at people the first time, sitting willingly together around the same table, laughing and talking.
Wow.
And he never saw them before sitting willingly on the same table and talking to each other.
So it only took one training session.
That's it.
Oh, That's very impressive.
It's all about having the opportunity to share your story, and others to hear yours. All of a sudden you feel like we're on the same level, and there's a lot of stuff goes behind the scenes in this method to bring everyone to the same level, because people come from different backgrounds and even skills. Some people might come in and smile like, hey, I've been playing for a long time with building blocks, I can build whatever, and others are saying, I'm not creative, I can't build anything, what do I do? But with this method we bring everyone to the same level.
You've given everybody the power to try it out.
Exactly, and they feel equal, and it translates later on into trust. And even any decision you make during the training, at the end, there's buy-in, because everyone was part of co-creating that solution. It wasn't a CEO or someone saying, that's a solution, now follow it. Totally different experience.
Everything was accepted.
Exactly.
Wow, that's fascinating. How does block building lead to a greater sense of calm or inner resolution? What plays a part in that, and how do they extend to improving interactions and fostering peace within, let's say, families?
Okay, yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. So let me start with the actual building blocks.
Okay.
The building blocks, as you said before, they have different colors, different sizes, different shapes.
Yeah.
All these allows us to, again, express them as metaphors. So now I'm able to express any idea, any concept with these building blocks. And even the edges, when you actually fiddle and you hold the brick, if you ever think about it, the edges are a bit sharp or a little bit, not as smooth, for a reason. It's almost activating your nerve endings. And again, we want to, in these sort of experiences, we want to tap into the kinesthetic, the visual, the auditory, all the senses, because the more of your senses are activated, I mean, in some cases you want to isolate only one, but all of a sudden your experience, you feel like you're in a state of flow, that ideas are flowing. So think of this now, applying it to the second part of your question. Families. Sometimes, and I mentioned before earlier in our side talk, that I've seen families bond, especially like, let's say, a mother or father with their teenage son or daughter. It's because they speak a different language, but all of a sudden, when they're able to express them, and again, I think, for example, I remember one of the models I saw before was showing isolation. There is a gap, saying that the daughter was saying to her mother in her model that, I know my mom is busy. She's a working mom. She's very good at her job, but I miss her. Sometimes I feel those gaps, and I just don't.
There's this wall that you want to break and turn into a bridge.
I can't remember if it was a wall or was a gap, but nevertheless, that was the meaning. And I remember the mom, when she heard the story, she started showing tears.
Crying, I guess.
Because she felt, I didn't understand, and I
she
couldn't
might
visualize
have felt some sense of guilt because it wasn't intentional.
It wasn't also visual. She couldn't, maybe her daughter, she couldn't express, or maybe she said it in a way that didn't resonate with the mom. But sometimes if she's visual and she can see a model and the story being told by the person, it's something else. And that triggers a reaction. And in that case, there was hugs, there was understanding. And I wish them well.
What did they end up building?
It's basically, this is facilitated play where I give them a challenge every time and they build a model responding to that challenge. And then we start going deeper and deeper in the build until we reach the end goal of the design that we created. So in a way, I facilitate. I'm like I help them on the journey, but I don't come off as a lecturer. Like, I don't come and lecture them what parenthood is.
You're more of a mediator as well.
Yes,
you help people reconcile.
We are just.
You bring peace.
We are cruising with the stories of people who are blessed to be part of their stories, to hear them. We're not telling them what to do or what's
You're
right.
entering their hearts. You're allowing them to vent and speak out without fear, without reluctance, without thinking, is it even safe to share this? Am I oversharing? Only through something as simple as blocks.
And you say the keyword safe, not because it's my last name, but safe also because we have to create psychological safety, meaning a safe space for you to share ideas. That's why we follow very kind of strict rules that people don't know about.
And express yourself without being judged.
Exactly. But that won't happen instantly. Like if I now bring you two people together and say, hey, spill your heart out, tell me what's going on, you're not going to do it.
No, so of course not.
We have to follow certain steps to kind of earn it, to build that sort of trust in the community or the tribe or the people in the group. So it's a lot of details go behind it, but just trust that I've done this now for 7 years plus, and every time, doesn't matter what their age is, what their background is, it's a human connection. The moment you start building these things the right way and you prevent any sort of mistakes to happen, all of a sudden you start seeing over and over again a trust built over an hour and a half or 2 hours that you will not achieve in, you could say, months of conversation if you do it in a different way. So for me, I really believe this really makes an impact.
I believe doing so is such a is such a life-changing experience that I believe that people should at least try out once. As you said, us as human beings, we do have it in our nature to connect, and you've chosen the best of ways to connect with people, and that is through play. And I can see the focus and impact of building blocks. We should no longer call them children's building blocks. We'll just say building blocks because they're basically for everybody. We have a listener here who says, as an adult, I started building block sets. Again, it's surprisingly therapeutic. How do building blocks engage the brain and promote mindfulness? That's one part of the listener's message. And I like her DP, by the way. She's got a cat on there. Yeah, very cute. Yeah.
Right, so there's a lot of actually science behind this. One of the sessions I've done in the past was exploring mindfulness using building blocks. And so mindfulness, it's a big topic. But let's say, for example, there's one thing you could do is focus on an object. So by this, you actually, let's say for now, I hold this block in my hand, and I'm going to try to block out all other thoughts and just focus on this. I try to squeeze the block, feel it, imagine how hard it is, just manipulate it with my hands. So this sort of focus allows us to really activate our kinesthetic senses. And as I said before, the comment about the brain-hand connection, that when you actually fiddle, it's science. When you fiddle with this, you're actually activating more of your nerve endings in the hands, and that activates 70 to 80% of your neurons, brain cells. So no wonder when that happens, you're now all of a sudden feeling creative, and so it's a scientific thing. Now, the other kind of mindfulness, if you, for example, sit down and do the opposite, you're trying to close your eyes and just explore what sensations do you feel. Do you feel any breeze? Do you smell anything in the room? So combining, like focusing on a sense, like kinesthetic, and then actually completely ignoring it. Like I can ask people to blindfolded to build something without looking at the models with the building blocks, and that's going to activate something else. Yeah. So this sort of activating and in a way deactivating some of the senses is going to allow you to explore things about yourselves that you not know it's possible. And that's, I think, hopefully part of the answer to the question.
Can a stress ball play another part in that? Something soft like Play-Doh, clay?
Definitely, all these have a different impact, but it's not just about the sensation itself. It's, again, the method we use also combines building, storytelling, reflection. So the whole method, when you combine it together, that's when you have the maximum impact. But definitely playing with a stress ball, even doing small things like that can actually have an impact. But once you combine it in the right structure, you get the maximum impact.
Because you do get some kind of similar impact as you're in a pottery class when you're learning how to form the clay and then use the machine to make different shapes and then turning it into something, turning it into a mug or a bowl or whatever it is that you'd like to create using clay. But using blocks, that's a lot more sophisticated. It takes a lot of your thinking.
You know, it depends on the person. I think some people may be frustrated by doing, for example, pottery or clay. Some people, I remember even when seeing the blocks, they're like, oh my God, I'm stressed because they're OCD. They're not organized. So in a way, we want to explore what sort of method or way that works for the people. It can be on just one thing. So regardless, as long as you're able to achieve this sort of peacefulness, mindfulness that you're looking after, I don't think it's only building blocks, but definitely try building blocks. I would argue it has potentially a higher impact compared to just one method only.
I mean, this is going way deep. I feel like you should have a manual or a book explaining all of this. But, for people to have an idea at home or maybe creating videos for people to explain. But it would be a lot better if people would actually register or enroll or show up in any of your training sessions or any of... do you still work on those gatherings where you pick a particular coffee shop and you go and you play games with strangers?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, today,
how often do you do it?
I try to do it once a month because I do this for free for the last 7 years. It's only based on availability of the venues that I work with. Currently, I do it at Workington M7 in Msheireb, and we have a limited number of seats. Now it's already full. I have one at 6 o'clock today. But what happens is...
And how many people are showing up?
It really varies. It can be, for example, from 12 to 20 or less. It just depends on...
What are you guys playing today?
Today we're going to play around the theme of freelancers. So we're going to see how we can help freelancers explore what sort of skill set makes them different than others, and then what sort of challenges that we can learn from each other. So when we combine all the freelancers together, all of a sudden now going to extract wisdom that's going to be helping everyone. So I'm not coming as an expert freelancer, here's what you should follow. No, this is quite different. We create the safe space for them to share
their experiences
and leave out with connections, new connections that can support each other. And that's the beautiful impact of Play Meet Up. People who are strangers become friends and become very supportive even after the session ends.
And do you end up being the stranger at the end of the day? Or do they meet you this one time and that's it? Or do they stay connected with you?
I'm not a stranger or friend. I am the millionaire who get to meet all these amazing people. And every time I go into a supermarket, I was like, oh, we played together. I may not remember the name because I do this quite a lot, but I definitely remember some of the stories and the faces I'll never forget.
And I bet that you have this very, very, let me say, impactful touch that you touch their lives forever, even if it only takes them one time to meet with you and not ever see you again. Doing so does build bridges, and it does impact their lives in the long run. It affects maybe their decision making in the future and how they see things and how they perceive them. Here's another message that says adults these days are collecting toys, action figures, and especially building blocks like Lego as an example. Some even have entire shelves or display walls at home. It's become such a trend, but it's more than just nostalgia, isn't it? And why, Mr. Emad, do you think so many grown-ups are turning to toys and building sets again? What's the psychology behind it? That's a very, very smart question. Very good question.
See, this is a tough question. I have to think about it. But right off the bat, I think that I have a lot of Lego at home, but they're not sets. So I think perhaps when you're collecting these things, you're a fan of a particular toy or a theme, and that's fine. Everyone has the right to do what they want, but that's kind of an ownership relationship. You own it because you love something, you want to own it. But when the other kind of play that we do at Play Meet Up, it's more of play between people. So it's more of the experience, the pictures that you take at that moment to look back and say, wow, that moment I heard that story. So it's not really about a physical object that you call now you own it. It's more of the connections, the experience that you share, the stories that were told. That's what you own. So I think they're totally different things. I mean, there's no contradiction of loving one or the other. But I would argue that an object after a while, maybe just collecting it and you get bored, maybe you forget about it. But the connection between people are
It'll just pile up dust while you're looking at it on the shelf. You'll feel happy about it, and you might even forget it until someone comes in, or maybe you trying to clean up your room and it falls, it breaks.
Yes, but I've had cases in the past where someone was so attached to the models they built, they wanted to take the building blocks with them home. I'm like,
maybe
please.
To remember the experience.
Yes, but I told them, I'm so sorry. This is my goal. This is what I used to keep this going, so you cannot take it home.
Maybe take a picture before they go.
We take a lot of pictures of what we do. Okay. But I had to really speak with him very gently, like, please, I don't take it home. I need I need this building blocks.
You need to reuse them.
But for them, this is the emotional attachment that they created by telling stories about these models.
It's just like when you visit a new place and you learn something new and you want to get a souvenir or keep an artifact of what you have, of the time you've spent and what you have gone through. So I don't blame them. I think I would be doing the same thing if I end up attending one of your training sessions. And here's one more before we go on a music break. Listener here says most babies and toddlers, their very first toys are often building blocks. The colorful, chunky bricks we've all seen, the universal ones, without mentioning a particular brand name. Why is that, you think? What is it about building blocks that fascinates babies so much? And the baby in us as adults.
Yes.
And is there a deeper connection between those early play experiences and the inner peace we search for as adults? I mean, dealing with my nieces and nephews, using blocks gives them a chance to learn about different shapes. It gives them a chance to know how to, let's say you have a box with different shapes and you need to relate the shape block with that box, so you'll know how to let them enter. There are limitations to that, but how do you see it from your own perspective?
Now, I cannot speak as a child expert because that's a particular question, not what I do per se. But when I see, for example, my son Ward, and he's about 2 years old. So when he doesn't just play with particular building blocks, but he's attracted to anything colorful, anything big, anything he can manipulate. And so I don't think he's seeking peace per se. He just wants to explore something. So in a way, these are acting as stimulus for the child or the baby to kind of explore things. But how we use them in Play Made Up is totally a different thing. We use them as a language to express ideas that are deep.
It's a very effective language when you have a child that doesn't verbalize what they're feeling much, or you don't really get to know what's going on in their heads. I have a nephew of mine who can create an entire scene and an entire act using these blocks.
Yes.
A mother and father and kids. The father wants to take the children grocery shopping. He forgot to pass by the supermarket, so you'll have a little supermarket built up and windows. He makes sure there's a back door and a front door, and it would strangely allow you to know how they pay attention to a lot of detail, and they take you, people in their surrounding, as a role model, and display that through the blocks.
Yes. There's one thing I have to actually emphasize here, because a lot of people who know the work that I do, they approach me and ask me, can I bring my children to try it? And I've actually experimented using this method with different age groups. So to look at children, I noticed that up to almost the age of 8 or 9 years old, this is the minimum potentially for kids to be able to use the method, because when you look at objects, they think of what they know. So for example, you said, let's say an example, a window. So they can say, yeah, that's a window. They can point and say that's a window. But if I use a metaphor now, I tell them, okay, who would start saying that's, for example, freedom? That's a metaphor. So I found
they need to be old enough to understand the concept.
Exactly. So at a certain age, they are learning skills, motor skills, how to manipulate the objects, how to connect them together. And these are very important, by the way, for children.
Yeah.
But once now we cross that age to, let's say, 10 years old plus, now we're able to engage. So for everyone listening here, if you're able now to use building blocks differently by asking, let's say, your children or even your wife or husband, what could that mean? For example, you may have, let's say, a plane that you built out of building blocks, but that plane may represent, let's say, curiosity about travel, or it could be an assembly line, or it could be anything.
Freedom, flying.
Right. So metaphors, if we use them as humans, metaphors can be very, very poetic, very deep, beyond just what's physical. So we will struggle at the beginning of this method that people only build literal models of what things look like. But once you break away from thinking in literal sense, you can think metaphorically. Now you're going to get the poet out of you and crazy things that you never imagined would come out of your mouth. That's the power we all have in us as creative people.
I mean, that's such a powerful tool. We have another listener here that says playing does reduce my stress, cortisol levels, and increases my dopamine. It helps in developing problem-solving skills and cognitive thinking. It allows me to build new social connections, and it keeps me emotionally balanced and activates my senses. This comes in a message from Ibrahim. I definitely agree with him. Especially knowing all the information that we learned from Mr. Emad Saif in this interview so far. To wrap up with our final two questions, and for listeners who might be a bit curious out there, what would be one simple kind of play exercise or mindset shift that they could try at home to tap into the benefits of play on their own, or maybe tools that wouldn't break their bank account?
Yes, this type of play is facilitated, and that's what I struggle with. This is where you have to kind of innovate and figure out what really works for a person to do it on their own. So basically, again, I guide people through challenges, and they build the stories, the answers using the building blocks, and then we go through, obviously, other steps. But now, if you don't have a facilitator, if you're at home and you want to somehow engage your, let's say, your family or your co-workers, what can you do? If you're able to, on your own, to think metaphorically again, that you're not just building blocks to make a certain literal shape. Let's say, for example, let's do it right now, me and you, Huda. We have now 6 bricks here.
Okay,
let's say if I can just express how you're feeling right now using this 6 bricks. And again, think metaphorically. So whatever comes to your mind, let's do it under like 30 seconds as we're talking. How are you feeling right now when you're just holding these building blocks, attaching them together, and just think what comes out of your when your hands, when you build it, you're using your hands as a way to express yourselves. And again, there are no wrong answers. Whatever you build right now with your hands is okay. these are some of the rules that we apply in the, but I'm trying to find a way to make this available so people can do it on their own by following certain guidelines and be able to achieve some level of success. So, have you built anything yet?
Well, there are only 6.
That's
and
fine.
I'm trying my best.
So you can hold it like me right now in your hands like this and just think, what could this mean? So I can tell you right now, see my model right now? Can you see it? So I'm just basically like...
This looks like a bird.
Like a bird. But the metaphor is this. I feel like I'm flying over the moon because I get to share with you what I've been doing for the last 7 years with all the amazing listeners. Is something I feel very grateful as I'm flying to share my story with the world through QBS Radio. That's how I'm feeling right now. How about you?
This is more of a magnet with both sides. One side having an eye. I am getting gravitated towards the topic and the subject. And the way you have been delivering it throughout this great interview. And I realized that the block that I thought only had one eye has 2 eyes. So if I bring it closer, if I bring both eyes, so you wouldn't think it's an NVI or anything. So I am keeping an eye on your platforms and what you're doing from this day forward. You couldn't find a place for this for the 6th one, and it's breaking apart because I think I've been holding them so tight. But my question is, what different platforms can we find you on, and can you mention the handles? And for those who would like to maybe join you next time, because I think today's too late to even sign up for the Play Meetup, how can they reach out and apply?
I mainly, because it's really a one-man show for the most part, I do this marketing, everything on my own. So you can go to playmeetup.com and you actually, if you go to the Instagram page, also Play Meetup, one word, you can see a lot of videos and pictures and maybe even people that you know who actually have tried Play Meetup before. So I really invite everyone, because it's not really me. Like, this would not be possible without the community, the people who come in to play and share the stories. And really my goal here is try to advocate for this culture of play where all of us can feel safe to share ideas and have a chance to meet people and create meaningful connections, something I've struggled with here in Doha, and I know many also around the world. So you're welcome to visit the page, follow it, and you can apply for the next Play Meetup, and it'll be an absolute honor to meet many more strangers here who are on listening to this
we feel that same amount of privilege and honor to have you in the studio, getting a glimpse of what you do, how it impacts others, how it impacts you, how it's full of purpose, and that play goes way beyond in having some quality time with a few people, because there are different dimensions to look at it from this day forward. And big thanks to you. And to wrap up today's interview, I'm sure this is not going to be our last discussion. There's going to be more interviews. But to wrap up, how do you envision the power of play and what you're actually doing expand in the future? And what advice would you like to give to other people who struggle and would like to join?
So I'm trying to scale on all fronts. And now it's more also like there's a social side where it's Play Meetup, and there's also professional training for anyone who wants to utilize this tool for their organizations, whether it's regarding to become more creative, improving communication. This tool can be around any topic, so I'll be more happy to speak with anyone who reach out to me about how do we bring this to their organization. Now, what I would like to maybe end with is a beautiful quote by Plato himself. He says that you can discover more about a person in an hour of play than in a year of conversation. Again, you can discover more about a person in 1 hour of play than in a year of conversation. So I want to have these precious hours between families and their homes playing with each other. I hope to see more family bond, because family is precious. Co-workers who don't know each other, they're co-workers for years, but they haven't played. They don't know each other's hobbies and how close they are.
And you know what? Us as adults, life can keep us busy, trying to make a living and trying to build our dreams and bringing them into reality, whatever goals or achievements would like to accomplish in life for whatever purpose. But then you go back and sit with yourself and you think, can I actually refund the time I've been spending to make a living to actually make a life? Am I building the bonds? Who would refund my time that I've spent here and there and not building bonds with my family or building memories or living precious moments, because these actually recharge you and build you as a human being. They fill your heart, they fill your soul, they fill your mind. They give a more meaning and sense of purpose to your life other than just materialistic matters or things related to work. And that's where you play as a role. As you said, you had mothers and children coming together saying they don't bond because they never had time, and through play you allowed them to build connections. So we're thankful that we have people like you in life. We appreciate you, and we look forward to maybe join one of your play meetups and have you back here to discuss things further. So we want to thank you for your time. And thank you for the great insight you've shared with us on the air, Emad Saif.
It's absolutely my pleasure, and I wish everyone a more playful day with all their loved ones, whether it's workers or at home.
I'm going to have to pass by and get a new set of blocks and start exploring my metaphors and maybe send you pictures from now on so you can assess them.